Thailand, the only Southeast Asian nation never colonized by the West, while much of Southeast Asia fell under European colonial control between the 16th and 20th centuries. Thailand, known as Siam until 1939, remained independent. This remarkable feat was the result of strategic diplomacy, internal reform, and geographic advantage, allowing Thailand to survive as a sovereign state while its neighbors were absorbed by colonial empires. The colonial context in Southeast Asia by the late 19th century. Southeast Asia had been divided among Western powers. Britain controlled Burma, Myanmar, and Malaya, France ruled Indochina, Vietnam. Laos, Cambodia, the Netherlands held the Dutch East Indies, Indonesia. Spain and later the U.S. dominated the Philippines. In the middle of these rival empires lay Siam. Geographically wedged between British Burma and French Indochina, making it both vulnerable and strategically valuable. Diplomatic balancing act. The kings of the Chakri Dynasty, especially King Mongkut Rama IV, R. 1851 to 1868, and his son King Chulalongkorn Rama V. R. 1868 to 1910, recognized the threat posed by Western imperialism. They pursued a policy of balancing relations with Britain and France, skillfully granting concessions to each side to prevent either from gaining dominance. Key examples: Treaty of Boring 1855, with Britain opened Siam's trade and reduced tariffs, satisfying British economic interests. Agreements with France allowed limited French influence in Laos and Cambodia, but preserved Siamese sovereignty over its core territories. Territorial concessions to preserve independence. Siam's leaders understood that to survive, they sometimes had to cede peripheral territories. In 1893, after a conflict with France, Franco-Siamese War, Siam relinquished control of Laos. In the early 20th century, it ceded parts of western Cambodia to France and some Malay states to Britain. These concessions created a buffer zone between the two empires. Siam became a neutral state that neither Britain nor France wanted to disturb for fear of sparking conflict. Internal modernization diplomacy alone wasn't enough. The Siamese kings initiated modernizing reforms to strengthen the state, abolishing slavery and labor, centralizing administration, and introducing a modern legal code, expanding Western-style education, building railways, telegraphs, and modern military forces. These changes impressed Western powers, making Siam appear as a civilized nation under the standards of the time, reducing the justification for colonial takeover. Geographic advantage. Siam's geographic position was a blessing and a challenge. Being landlocked between rival empires meant constant pressure, but also gave it strategic value as a buffer state. Both Britain and France preferred an independent Siam to a direct border confrontation. The legacy of independence by skillfully playing Britain and France against each other, embracing selective modernization, and making calculated territorial sacrifices. Siam navigated an era when almost no other Asian nation escaped colonization. This independence allowed Thailand to retain its monarchy and cultural traditions, avoid the full-scale economic exploitation typical of colonial rule, enter the 20th century with stronger national unity and identity today. Thailand proudly highlights its status as the only Southeast Asian country never colonized by a Western power, a central theme in its national history and diplomacy.